The appearance of 3 U.S. B-52H bombers near Venezuelan airspace was not a mistake. It was a clear, calculated signal. This powerful maneuver showed a significant, undeniable increase in U.S. military pressure on Venezuela and its criminal associates. It was a strategic, unquestionable show of force. The powerful message was delivered not with cautious diplomatic words, but with a display of total, absolute dominance. The entire world watched as a new, formidable strategic reality was firmly established in the sky above the Caribbean. This act made it immediately clear who holds the true power and the capability to project it at will. The operation itself began quietly, long before the massive aircraft ever left the ground. There was no public announcement or parade. The preparation for this single flight was a testament to American military precision and strategic foresight. The message was simple and absolute. The United States is watching. The United States is ready, and the United States is willing to act. This kind of visible display leaves absolutely no doubt about who holds the true power in the region's skies. To truly understand the sheer significance of this action, one must fully grasp what a B-52H bomber represents. It is the very physical embodiment of American global reach. It shows the world, without question or ambiguity, that America can project its power to any place on the planet it needs to, at a time of its choosing. This aircraft is a flying fortress, capable of delivering massive conventional payloads anywhere on Earth. It flies at high altitudes that are extremely difficult for most older air defense systems to handle effectively or accurately. Its very existence signals a return to a powerful, decisive military way of thinking, that when America moves, the enemy must simply comply and stand down. The simple sight of this huge, powerful aircraft in the sky sends an immediate, clear message of total and unquestioned U.S. air superiority in the region. It leaves absolutely no doubt for anyone watching. Negotiation is effectively deemed over. Leverage is now airborne. The capital city of Caracas and every single one of its strategic and criminal assets is now within easy, controlled striking distance. The B-52H acts as a flying, strategic message board that cannot be ignored. It tells all adversaries, including every cartel operator, that they are under constant, careful watch and that they have absolutely no place left to hide from American power. The huge ultimate power is shown, but the final trigger is not yet pulled. The threat is real, present, and ominously hovering over the enemy. The entire world waits to see what the weak enemy regime's pathetic reaction will be. Will the collapsing state dare to challenge this ultimate display of air power? The success of the initial flight, the sheer fact that the bombers arrived, patrolled, and departed unmolested, acts as an intermittent reward. It is a small, clear win that demonstrates the complete professional competence of U.S. forces before the final political resolution is achieved. This powerful show of force was not randomly timed. It is a carefully planned and crucial step in a much longer, strategic game plan. It is a slow, quiet siege that puts the enemy under continuous, mounting pressure that they cannot escape. This latest action is a clear escalation of force. Unlike similar, less defined flights in past years, this new deployment is pointed, focused, and carries much less confusion in its meaning. It is a direct, public challenge. The United States is publicly and clearly calling the bluff of a state that is collapsing under the weight of its own criminality and internal corruption.
Before we get to that, I need your help. I'm trying to hit 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I need your help. So I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out.
Which is mostly composed of older Russian-made equipment, is either completely incompetent, poorly maintained, or both. The adversary's failure is guaranteed by their own inability to properly maintain and operate their expensive foreign equipment. The B-52s flew a precise route that was created to challenge the readiness and operational capability of these enemy air defense systems. It was a test of reaction time, technical skill, and military morale. This deliberate challenge sets up a powerful near-miss scenario. The aircraft deliberately pushed the margin of error, operating at the limit of what would trigger an effective response. The successful, flawless completion of the bomber's route deep into the region showed decisive U.S. capability. It proved to the audience that the United States is not guessing the enemy's limitations. It is knowing them with complete certainty, based on prior intelligence. The flawless execution of the mission underscores the vast and unbridgeable difference in military competence between the two sides. The entire operation itself is a textbook example of the strategic doctrine called force projection. This is the military's ability to clearly show its power far away from its own shores. It is political signaling executed at the highest possible level. It is a visible, direct threat that is specifically designed to compel the enemy to surrender their will and their criminal control. It is all about how the enemy perceives U.S. power, and how that perception quickly leads to total U.S. control of the situation. This strategy is preferred because it offers maximum unilateral leverage over the enemy without the U.S. having to compromise one single thing in negotiations. The United States wants to be believed, and to be believed, it does not whisper, it flies a bomber. The Venezuelan regime's reaction was exactly what the U.S. fully expected. It was wholly predictable, it was frantic, and most importantly, it was weak. The official government statement was a formal complaint, calling the flight imperialist aggression and a crime against the stability of the region. They cried loudly to the world about international law and respect for their territory. But all of their empty political words were rendered completely meaningless when the huge B-52s were actually in the sky, dominating their claimed airspace. Their condemnation was nothing more than a desperate public display of their complete humiliation. In a clear act of panic and desperation, the regime scrambled their own fighter jets. This immediate reaction was a visible, costly humiliation for the nation's military. They were clearly reacting to the superior U.S. move, not planning their own strategy. Air defenses went to full alert, consuming scarce fuel and resources. Radar systems frantically locked onto the intruders as they flew near the edges of national airspace. Their jet launch was rushed, uncoordinated, and utterly panicked. It showed the entire world that they were caught completely off guard and scrambling desperately to save a small bit of face. This action was a pathetic attempt to assert control over a sky that was already thoroughly dominated by a clearly superior, non-reactive force. The inability of the regime to mount a serious, pre-planned military response is the core of the tribal male-male dynamics at play. One side asserts total, undeniable dominance, and the other side is exposed as slow, weak, and entirely incompetent. The U.S. action made the enemy look foolish, incapable of protecting its own claimed airspace, and wholly subservient to a superior power. Behind the scenes, the internal fear and chaos were palpable. Venezuelan commanders reportedly initiated frantic contingency drills simulating a U.S. airstrike on cartel-affiliated facilities. This was a revealing move that confirmed Washington's silent message had landed and caused deep internal fear within the military command structure. The psychological impact of those massive contrails stretching across Venezuelan skies cannot be overstated. They embodied the anxiety of a regime caught between useless political defiance and paralyzing military fear, between political survival and the harsh reality of American capability. The cartel operators, the true criminal targets of the operation, were instantly paralyzed by this show of force. Criminal networks operate on a fragile sense of predictability, knowing when patrols rotate, when radar gaps appear, and when government protection is reliable. The B-52H shattered that fragile illusion of safety. Within hours, satellite intercepts showed unusual quiet in the western corridors that act as the arteries of cartel logistics. Clandestine airstrips went dark, boat traffic along the coast froze in place. Communication hubs that normally buzzed with encrypted chatter went silent. No one had been attacked, yet criminal operations slowed to a complete crawl. The message was simple: You are seen. Being seen in this world of organized crime is the first and most critical step toward the elimination of the criminal enterprise. The criminals didn't know if the Americans were gathering intelligence, testing radar response, or preparing for imminent strikes. That terrifying confusion created paralysis. Fear spread faster than any information they could gather. The B-52 is a statement of force. It is a military fact. The strategic message is powerful and singular. It is a warning to all criminal enterprises and hostile regimes that their time of unchallenged operation is decisively over. The entire operation is a masterclass in psychological warfare. The action itself creates deep fear and uncertainty within the regime and its criminal allies. The single flight becomes a key moment in the rituality of continuous pressure. These flights are now a recurring event, a pattern of dominance that the enemy cannot break. Every night, the Venezuelan radar sweeps the sky, and every single unidentified echo triggers the same terrible, consuming question. Are they coming this time? That simple question, that single moment of uncertainty, is a powerful poison. That single doubt eats away at the country's stability from the inside. It makes the government weak, paranoid, and incapable of decisive action. This is the scarcity of their options. They have no effective countermove left on the board. They are overwhelmed by this permanent pressure. This is their overload and collapse. They have only chaos, a frantic reaction, and a public relations disaster, while the United States acts with total, decisive precision. The humiliation is constant and unavoidable. For U.S. military commanders, this situation is the very definition of success. The ultimate goal is submission without battle. The aim is to force the enemy to give up their will without firing a single shot. The commanders operate on the clear understanding that true peace is not achieved through simple talks. They believe peace is a direct byproduct of pressure. The more pressure you apply, the faster the enemy will want to surrender and stop the pain. The bomber's presence creates a powerful relief loop for the audience. A huge tension is created by the arrival of the massive bombers, the ultimate threat. The relief comes because the bombers do not deploy their weapons this time. But that momentary relief is immediately replaced by a new challenge. The flights will continue, and the threat is still very much real and present. The cycle of tension and release reinforces the permanence of U.S. control. The entire operation carries powerful symbolic symmetry. The same bombers that stood guard during the Cold War against a powerful global adversary are now circling a new kind of crisis in a new century, one dominated by criminal organizations and weak state actors. The technology has been updated, but the underlying military logic remains exactly the same. Force, when it is visible and when it is precise, changes politics faster and more completely than any slow-moving diplomatic meeting. The commanders are betting on a historical truth. That presence alone can achieve what negotiations have failed to secure. This is leverage over the enemy without the U.S. having to compromise one single thing. This is a military doctrine for a new era. It is a powerful example of identity binding, aligning the audience with the idea that U.S. competence and order are the only things that truly matter in this volatile world. The weakness of the enemy is simply a contrast that proves the inevitable, unshakable strength of the United States and its allies. The Venezuelan regime must now adapt to a new, uncomfortable reality. They must live under a sky that is no longer neutral or safe for them. The cliffhangers are all in the air above the regime. The question of when the next flight will happen remains open, permanent, and unanswered. The strategic pressure is still building, and it is now a constant, terrifying presence. The cycle of fear has been firmly established and is self-reinforcing. By deliberately choosing power over persuasion, America is reviving an old, effective military rule for a new century. The message is simple, unmistakable, and repeated with every pass the bombers make. Negotiations are optional. Dominance is not. The waters of the Caribbean once again echo with the powerful sound of engines. These engines carry more than just bombs. They carry intent. And as long as those powerful aircraft keep flying, the message will keep repeating itself, louder than any words and clearer than any treaty. The message is that the United States will not wait for anyone's permission to act. It will simply act. This is the final new reality for any nation that dares to challenge American control in the region. The sky belongs to the strong, and today, that strength is proven by the B-52H Stratofortress. The mission was executed with flawless precision, demonstrating control and capability from preparation to final departure. The full force of the American military was displayed, and the adversary was exposed as weak, slow, and unable to cope with the reality of an undeniable, dominant threat. The consequences are immediate: disrupted criminal activity, internal panic in the regime, and a powerful strategic shift in the region, leaving no doubt about who is in charge. This is a lesson in deterrence, delivered with 8 engines of pure power. This takedown was just the start. The fight isn't finished. On your screen is the next video. Click the video, it opens right away, and you'll see the cartels crushed even harder.